So darling, if you see the devil, won't you tell him I'm coming home?
They say 10,000 hours working at anything will make you a master of it. Yeah, not so much. A Fall from Grace is a straight-to-Netflix courtroom thriller, summoned by Tyler Perry, which is a whole lot of words that shouldn't be in the same sentence. A self-styled Hitchcock riff, his words, not mine. It follows small-town Virginia defense attorney Jasmine Bryant, played by Perry alum Brescia Webb, as she pursues a plea deal for what was meant to be an open and shut murder case, but quickly descends into a conspiratorial web of lies and deceit when both she and the killer learn the victim's body was never recovered. Now that premise sounds pretty solid, I'll admit, but don't let it fool you, because A Fall from Grace is like being trapped on a bad roller coaster for 2 hours. Tyler Perry's comedies don't really work for me, I'm just putting that out there. I'm not the audience for them, I guess. But his thrillers? Shit. Listen, and I'm not kidding at all. A Tyler Perry thriller, like 2018's Acrimony, is something I've unashamedly come to regard as event viewing. When I found out what A Fall from Grace was about, I cleared my calendar and turned off my phone. If the lunatic Byzantine revelations on rampant display throughout every minute of Acrimony were any indication of the level of foolishness I was about to get all up in, no way was I skipping this. And it does not disappoint. It is bonkers. Grace Waters, played by In the Heat of the Night and equally long-running Perry production The Haves and the Have-Nots Crystal Fox, has just murdered her husband. And that's not a spoiler, it happens before the movie starts. All she wants is to plead guilty in exchange for being sent to a prison near enough to her son Malcolm that he can visit her. Simple, right? No, not even a little. Tyler Perry, doing the laziest Perry White impression I think I've ever seen, co-stars as Jasmine's boss Rory Garreau, a role he plays straight but elicits laughs all the same, due in no small part to a bad wig and the occasional groan-inducing jab at millennials. He's always disgruntled and endlessly put upon, with his tie ever undone regardless of the time of day, which only makes you shout, "Just don't wear them!" When Rory sends her to get the deal signed, Jasmine is moved by Grace's tale of woe, starts to see cracks in her story that allude to more than what we've been told, and has a come-to-Jesus moment wherein she decides to take the case to trial despite her laughable lack of acumen. So, how does a defense attorney with no trial experience and a history for plea bargaining get assigned a murder case? That sounds familiar. Where have I heard that? It's A Few Good Men. It's literally just A Few Good Men, minus the Marines. But here's where the wheels really come off the Perrymobile. We've all seen that stack of scripts on his desk from that video a couple weeks ago, the one about how he writes all of his projects by himself, something that was meant to be impressive, but isn't because, as Tyler Durden would say,
"Sticking feathers up your butt does not make you a chicken."
Being prolific doesn't amount to much if the work you're putting out is utterly lacking in nuance, inspiration, depth, and even basic comprehension of the subject matter, as is the case here. Tyler Perry knows as much about trial law as I do about space travel, and that is embarrassingly evident every time the characters step into that courtroom. And this has always been my problem with his output. There is no shame in hiring writers, in seeking counsel on subjects you are not versed in. Hell, he could have watched a half season of any one of the 5 Law & Order TV series and been well on his way to scripting a more compelling and accurate depiction of a jury trial. But that's just it. He won't do that. He needs help, and he won't ask for it. Grace is that same familiar female template. I say template because she's not a character we've seen before. She's lonely, downtrodden, and perpetually tired, instantly ensorcelled by any reasonably attractive man who pays her even the basest level of respect and attention. As is the case with Shannon DeLong, the would-be suitor who might as well have the word con man tattooed across his forehead, because at no point does the movie attempt to persuade you he's anything but just that. Mechad Brooks of Supergirl and Desperate Housewives, also sporting a wig that is unforgivable, does the role no favors, and this is almost certainly not his fault. By playing the character with such comical diabolism, he might as well be twisting his mustache while Grace lies tied to train tracks. He literally smokes cigarettes while laughing about how evil what he's doing to Grace is. It's the kind of character a child would write. I'm not saying don't watch this, not at all. Watch it. Watch it now. All of it. And don't do it alone either. You need witnesses, because no one you tell will believe the things that happen in this, the twists and turns it takes on the long road to its ludicrous conclusion. There's so much bizarre setup you have to endure along the way, like a seemingly unrelated senior citizen suicide in the opening scene, and a bit part from Cicely Tyson that makes you angry because she didn't kill it in Sounder just to end up here. Jasmine has a husband played by the Oval's Matthew Law, who has got to be the worst cop in all of Virginia. Pay attention to how many times he handcuffs someone and then just walks away and leaves them there. The real MVP of A Fall from Grace is easily Tony Award-winning star of stage and screen for my entire life and longer, Phylicia Rashad, who apparently saw Betty Gabriel's performance in Get Out and said to herself, "Oh yeah? Watch this." Rashad plays Grace's best friend Sarah Miller, and she elevates this codswallop to a level I wouldn't have thought possible. It's not enough to call this a bad movie. That's not what it is. The dialogue is bad. The decisions made by the characters rarely make sense. The extras are distracting. The editing is suspect. The cinematography is flat. The shot compositions are unimaginative. And the screenplay has first draft practically stamped on it. But I'll be damned if it's not also the single most entertaining thing I've watched this week. We don't do ratings on this channel anymore, but if we did, we couldn't even use stars. They just don't cut it. Tyler Perry's thrillers shattered those kinds of conventions. You can only rate it against his other thrillers as they are so far out of everything else's league at this point. It's like how the only runner able to break Usain Bolt's record was Usain Bolt. No, going forward, all Tyler Perry thrillers get rated on the acrimony scale, and A Fall from Grace earns a respectable 4.5 out of 5 acrimonies. Well, that was fun. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and give us a like. Ring that bell so you never miss an update, and follow Tangent1985 on Twitter for more. I'm M. Glenn Gore, and I'll see you next time.